624 here on Morning Jocks, Jocks 94.5, Damian Mitchell, Conrad Van Order, and you as well. Our wonderful listeners, 205-834-9450. You can text, you can call in anytime on Morning Jocks as we just recap the NFL honors from last night and also take a look at the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday. Y'all know how we do it on Fridays before football games. It's Final Score Friday. All we ask is that you send in what you think the final score will be for the Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs. Joseph takes in, he has the Eagles winning a close one, 27-24. Says got to root for those Philadelphia dogs on defense. Nick texts in, he says, not the outcome I want, but the Chiefs and the refs will win 38-34. That would be Nick in Madison. Eric from Sneed, he says his prediction for the Super Bowl, the Eagles 41, the Chiefs 39. So it looks like got a few people out here pulling for the Eagles, man. I think the Eagles can get it done. Teddy from Birmingham, he's got the Eagles over the Chiefs 35-31. The Eagles defense stops the Chiefs on their comeback drive on fourth down or an interception. That'll be big.
Okay.
That'll be big. I think that, one, again, the closer we get to kickoff, the more I'm just like, man, can the Eagles get it done? But it's just so hard to go against Patrick Mahomes on the other side. And also to his point, to Teddy's point, I wouldn't even feel too confident if I gave Patrick Mahomes, like a late minute or 15, minute, 30 seconds left on the clock, even with 3 timeouts, no timeouts, 1 timeout. I would much rather have my offense on the field and saying that, hey, if we just go down there and kick a field goal, we may win. I don't want to see Patrick Mahomes on a game-winning drive because
anything over 30 seconds and I wouldn't feel good.
Right, because more times than not, he'll find a way to get it done. But I do think that when you look at what this Eagles team has done all season long, they live and die with Saquon Barkley. And I think that if he goes out and has a great performance, they definitely have a chance to win the Super Bowl. But we'll give you our Super Bowl picks here at the end of the show. Want to make sure that you're staying on and listening to that. So going back to the NFL honors last night, we also had the 2025 inductees for the Hall of Fame. There's a couple I think that probably got omitted, but this is what the four player panel will be for the Hall of Fame in the class of 2025. Eric Allen, cornerback from honestly, I say he's before my time, but I do remember him on ESPN doing NFL coverage for SportsCenter and NFL Countdown, things like that. Played for the Eagles, the Saints, and the Raiders during his career. Jared Allen, somebody that we got a chance to see for a long time, defensive end for Kansas City, Minnesota, Chicago, and Carolina when he wrapped up his career. Definitely deserving of the Hall of Fame. Sterling Sharp, the brother of Shannon Sharp, receiver for the Green Bay Packers. Didn't have the longest of careers, but I think when you look at just his overall impact when he did play, I guess he would finds himself in the Hall of Fame.
Interesting. That'll come up with somebody that was omitted.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Antonio Gates, tight end for the San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers. Somebody that we saw. His entire career. I mean, he literally played basketball first. He was a basketball player that was like, oh, I guess I'll play some football. Ends up parlaying that into a Hall of Fame career.
It's like Mike Evans. Yeah.
Yeah, there in San Diego. From 2003 to 2018, he was the Chargers tight end, and he's in the top 5 for just about every receiving category for tight ends. But when you look at this 4-person sample, and for the people that were clearly, they had finally gotten to their name being on the ballot for the Hall of Fame, do you think there were some guys that were missed out on, Conrad?
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Eli Manning, and look, he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. I think all of these guys, these 3 guys I'm going to mention, are going to get in the Hall of Fame. Eli, I can understand. Okay, outside of the Super Bowls, is he a Hall of Fame quarterback? No. So I understand why, it might take him a couple of years. But there's 2 people that I have no idea how they didn't make it into the Hall of Fame last night. And so one of them's Luke Kuechly, linebacker for the Carolina Panthers. He made an all-pro team every single year he was in the NFL except for his rookie year. And all he did that year was win Rookie of the Year. But I mean, and that's where,
Yeah.
when you brought up with Sterling Sharp, I look at certain guys for the Hall of Fame, and if there is a 5 to 10 year window during your career where you were the best player or one of the, two or three best players at your position, you were an elite player consistently for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in your career. To me, that makes you Hall of Fame worthy
Hmm.
in a lot of cases. And a lot of these guys, with injury and guys like Luke Kuechly, like he could have kept playing if he wanted to, but he wanted to walk away for health reasons. And I totally understand that. But, when you talk about a guy like Sterling Sharp that doesn't have the longest career, but the impact that he made, I have no problem with him being in the Hall of Fame. But then why is a guy like Luke Kuechly not in the Hall of Fame? I
Yeah.
mean, he is, for my lifetime, when I think of linebackers, I think of Brian Urlacher and I think of Luke Kuechly. Like those are the two guys that come to mind. And that one was astounding to me. But even worse than that, in my opinion, even worse than that, Adam Vinatieri, I'm sorry, he is the greatest kicker in the history of the National Football League. And he didn't get in the Hall of Fame on his first ballot is it because he's a kicker? He is the greatest at his position ever, in my
Ever.
opinion. Ever.
Ever.
I don't care if you're the greatest long snapper of all time. You should be first ballot Hall of Famer because you are the greatest to ever to play your position. I don't know how Adam Vinatieri didn't get in there. That one is the most offensive of all of them to me because I just don't know that's disrespectful.
I agree with you too, because when you look at Adam Vinatieri, literally when I think of kickers, he's the first name that usually comes out of anybody's mouth, either him or Justin Tucker. And it's like, okay, well, Justin Tucker's going to the Hall of Fame as long as he continues to play in his career. But I also think that with Adam Vinatieri, like you said, he was the best kicker in the NFL essentially his entire career from the time he got in there. He was 20 years with the only two teams. You can't literally he had the game-winning field goal in multiple Super Bowls to solidify that Tom Brady got his Super Bowls as well when he was a New England Patriot.
He has the most career field goal attempts, the most career made field goals, most consecutive field goals made with 44. He has scored the most points in a career of any player in the history of the NFL. He has the most career overtime field goals made. He's won multiple Super Bowls. Like,
what else can
you do? Hey, yeah, I broke every record at my position. Sorry, man. Maybe next year.
Yeah, right.
Like, what?
He's done everything. Everything a kicker can do. You cannot start the conversation without Adam Vinatieri. And the first year he gets on the Hall of Fame, and it's like, okay, like we could poke fun at, special teams guys. But when it comes to doing your job and literally being the best at your job, there's nobody better than Adam Vinatieri, and he should be rewarded with a Hall of Fame.
And he's synonymous with, at least on the AFC side of things, I mean, the two greatest organizations that you had there in the 2000s with the Patriots and the Colts,
right,
battling it out every year with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and he was on both of those teams and excelled with both of those. Or it's just, I literally can't imagine a kicker having a better resume ever than what Adam Vinatieri had going into the Hall of Fame induction ceremony last night, and you don't get it. And I get it. We're talking about a kicker. We're getting mad about a kicker on Friday morning, but
he's the greatest.
Yes,
he's the greatest.
Ridiculous.
Oh man, but there were some again a lot of hoopla with Eli Manning not being a first ballot Hall of Famer, which I mean, listen, I've said numerous times I don't think he is, but you can't tell the story, and honestly, you can't tell Tom Brady's story without he had 3 Super Bowl losses, 2 of them came to one person, and 1 came to Nick Foles, and it's like, okay, well, that's a little different. But I do think that when you look at Eli Manning's career, it's warranted a discussion. Now, do I still think he gets in? Yeah, but
he was a good quarterback. He was not a great quarterback.
Exactly.
But he's a good quarterback that beat the best quarterback of all time twice.
Exactly. And I think that's what I have such a that's what I have such a problem with. It's
I know people will say, well, it shouldn't matter who the team was that he beat in the Super Bowl. It does matter.
It matters in that situation.
He beat I'm sorry. He beat the greatest football team I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes.
Right.
The 2007 Patriots in the Super Bowl. Like, that means more than a lot of Super Bowls.
It does. And again, it's hard to not it's hard to look at his resume and not say that he's in. But I look at it as, okay, if you truly watched Eli Manning play, was he ever better, like just better at the position? Was he ever better than Drew Brees? Was he ever better than Aaron Rodgers? Was he ever better than Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers? I mean, there are guys that were in his position that I always thought was better than him, but he has two things that a lot of them don't have.
But all of those other people will likely end up in the Hall of Fame as well.
And that's kind of how I look at it too. It's okay, well, you could either start with the Eli Mannings of the world and say, okay, yeah, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but there's other quarterbacks even within his era that you almost have to get into because I don't necessarily think that he was better than them. He had two great moments that were better than them.
I was about to say the Phillip Rivers one is interesting because he doesn't have any Super Bowls, obviously. And I think he was a better quarterback than Eli Manning.
Right.
So it's like if Phillip Rivers gets in, then I would expect Eli, I expect either both of them to get in or neither of them to get in.
Right. And that's how I look at it too. And I also throw Matthew Stafford in that conversation as well. Like it was, okay, had he not won a Super Bowl and you looked at just his numbers, it would be a hard debate to not say that he couldn't be in, but it's just, okay.
With the Super Bowl, he's going to get in.
He's going to get in. So, and
just like Matt Ryan. If Matt Ryan had won that Super Bowl,
yeah,
he probably gets in the Hall of Fame because you have an MVP and a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But now I don't think he's going to get in.
Who knows, man? Who knows? But we'll have this debate for another year, at least, that Eli Manning should be a Hall of Famer. Well, we'll keep the conversation going on the other side. Again, it's Final Score Friday. Who do you think wins the Super Bowl? You send us your score predictions, 205-834-9450. Text message or calls, always welcome here on Morning Jocks. And we'll return on the other side. Keep it locked on Jocks 94.5.